All right. Good news, bad news. Good news, we're almost done with splits. Bad news, Mythic didn't start today.
Yeah, which was to be expected, I think. But tomorrow, sometime for sure, actually for sure, there will be some Mythic progression, which should be pretty fun to watch. Also, we've seen a second boss die to non-race world first guilds, with Soulbinder and his injury dying in very few pulls for a lot of guilds that attempted it. Loomithar still looming, though. Not quite dead just yet.
I think Loomithar is
not long for this world, I reckon.
Yeah, Loomithar looks pretty difficult for guilds that aren't race world first guilds this week. But for non-race or for race world first guilds, they're gonna walk.
I feel like it's easier than Rick Reverb from what I've seen so far as well. But we do have some guilds that have been pulling it. But I think the guilds that have been pulling it are still guilds that just have like a lot less gear than, because guilds like Consequence, they've spent a lot of time on Mythic progression, and they can't have spent that much time on heroic and normal splits.
Do we see item level anywhere?
Yeah, if you click here, the raid's eye level is 698.
That's not bad.
Can you expand this as well, maybe, and we can see how many 4 pieces they're on? Are the set bonuses here? Doesn't look like it. Okay.
Okay. Well, yeah. Loomithar hasn't been killed yet. Soulbinder seems like it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
So
Soulbinder looks extremely easy. Yeah, easier than the first boss probably.
Yeah, much easier than Plexus, and I'm pretty sure everybody's just like one shot in that fight. So, but I think the first 3 bosses are pretty easily going to get one shot by race roll first. Nobody knows.
The question is 4, 5, 6. Is this going to be a tier where we're on the second to last boss on Friday or Saturday, or is this going to be one of those tiers where we have a mid-tier wall to talk about, or multiple?
This is why you do splits, though.
Yeah.
So you can.
You're ready for anything, and it doesn't really matter. Like, we know there's going to be a hard part that they're going to run into. The question is just which boss number it's going to be.
Yeah, pretty much.
And how many are free first. Now, there has been a big change to the Great Vault here that is good. It's good that we're talking about this in this, because that means I don't have to make a separate video about it. They are changing the Great Vault such that the item level of what you see in your vault will scale based on the hardest boss killed that week per difficulty.
Yes.
So if you kill all the bosses on Heroic, items from earlier bosses will scale to 4 out of 6 hero. And if 2 Mythic bosses were also defeated, that item would be limited to 2 of 6 Mythic. Now, it does say limited as well. So one question I do have is, if you have killed Heroic Dimensius, and then you do a week where you only kill the first 2 Heroic, do you get Dimensius loot at 1 out of 6 hero, or is it still 4 out of 6?
It says for that week, right?
It just says scale 2 and then limited
that week per difficulty.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you have killed Dimensius, so Dimensius' loot is in your vault. And then you do a week where you only kill the first 2.
But then you can get Dimensius loot at lower item level?
I don't think so. I think it would still be 4 out of 6, but that's my question. It's a little unclear from this.
I mean, how this reads to me is that you would get you're eligible for Dimensius loot at a lower item level.
Well, it says scale 2, right? Items offered from earlier bosses scale 2.
Scaled 2.
It doesn't say anything about items from later bosses scaling down or anything. So that's a question mark for me. My suspicion is that it only scales things up and it's not like nasty.
So
either way, that doesn't matter too much. It's just either way, there's a change.
But. So from race roll first perspective, this probably doesn't really affect too much. The race roll first guilds already try to min-max their vault as much as possible. But the way that this allows you to min-max your vault is for like later bosses, and later bosses already require comp stacks. So they tend to require comp stacks. And if Fractalus is hard, you're not going to be making vault concessions anyways.
So what it does do is it will effectively generate extra crests for everybody, right?
Yes.
It generates extra runed crests if you're a heroic raider, it generates extra carved crests if you're a normal raider, and it generates extra gilded crests if you're a mythic raider and you've killed any of the bosses that drop myth 2 or higher, which is the early mid bosses, myth 3, the mid-late bosses, or myth 4, the late bosses. Wherever the Race to World First ends next week, there's a good chance there are going to be a lot of people opening vaults that have myth 3 or maybe myth 4 as that level. And that will scale up the, Loomithar trinket that you'd see in your vault to myth 3 or myth 4 instead of being myth 1. That's saving them 15, 30, 45 gilded crests, depending.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's going to be really gilded crest limited. There's also kind of questions as to like what you're supposed to do with your crafting for both this week and next week. But I suspect that everybody's going to have to send their crafts this week. Would you ever hold out for a 2-handed weapon?
Maybe. There's definitely an argument to be made for doing that.
Like a caster for a staff or something?
Yeah, it's not even just holding out for crafting a 2-handed weapon. You're sort of running do I get from my vault a
cantrip,
a Soulbinder staff? If yes, then I upgrade that. If no, I craft staff. And either way, I'm putting Gilded Crest into an efficient two-hander instead of doing it more inefficiently.
The problem is not crafting this week is also really bad.
Right.
So there's going to be like there's a decision that's going to have to be made. I think that guilds are going to have to craft this week.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, if you craft next week two-hander instead, you do save Gilded Crests, especially if alternatively what you'd be crafting this week is offhander or one-hander.
I guess the issue you run into is like, where's the hard point of the raid?
Right.
If the hard point of the raid is Dimensius and you know it's going to reset and you're like...
If you feel like you need to craft to kill bosses this week, then of course you'll craft. Like it will be worth... Like, it's better to kill a boss and this week and then have done a slightly worse craft, because you'll get more loot from your vaults and from killing that boss.
It could be like something like Vantis Runes, where maybe you don't craft on everybody, but you craft on 16
Yeah, and that's the thing
players.
you can do is like... Because it's not just the vaults, but also next week, there's a good chance you're going to drop, say, the Soulbinder staff. So you definitely want at least one person who's ready to receive that item if you get it in Reclear.
It's kind of interesting because, you know, some classes just auto craft. I'm pretty sure Rogue just auto crafts Dagger.
Yeah, a lot of dual wielders. If you can only dual wield and you can't wear a two-hander, it makes a lot of sense to craft a weapon, because there's no way for you to be more Gilded Crest efficient than that anyways. And you can't really get owned, because if you do find a myth weapon, great, throw the crafted one in your offhand.
You see this? Okay, so Ulduar Trinkets got nerfed. Ulduar Trinkets,
Some are still pretty good.
Wrathstone and Living Flame were both turbo broken. They were more stats over the course of your cooldowns than Forge Ritual was, because of the decaying nature of Ritual Forge. So both of those ended up getting nerfed. A couple other trinkets from Ulduar getting nerfed. It was kind of weird that Ulduar Time Walking was even available this week. That, to me...
It's actually pretty common. There's often time walking in either the first or the second week, but it has mattered. Like Narrowbar, there was Ulduar right at the start. There was a tier, I think it was Amir Jasil had Firelands fairly early into it as well, and there was like a good trinket there for DKs that got nerfed. These sorts of things do happen. I wonder how much the 5% nerf takes these items out of people's priority list as well, because...
Heard rumors that Racial First Kills were considering splitting Ulduar at some point.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to make any sense anymore. Ulduar is still a great source of loot, though. I mean, if you're just any kind of casual player, going in and doing either the full raid, 5 bosses, just the Yogg skip, any of those are probably pretty good use of your time.
Yeah. Okay, beyond that, we have the cost of splits as part of the menu today. And you sent a tweet. And
I saw this tweet last night from Method of increasing their reward for normals all the way up to 200,000 gold.
Is Method struggling to get helpers?
I've also seen some of their raiders quote retweeting this as well, which makes me think that they are needing to do this to get more. I mean, obviously, that's why you've raised prices, right? Is because you aren't getting enough people. So,
I mean, Echo's had a pretty strong hold on the helpers market in Europe.
And these prices aren't that different than what Liquid's paying, who have no competition in the region for helpers. So I'm not saying that like, oh, they can't get their helpers or anything. It's more just like clearly there's a lot of demand for helpers this tier, and especially the European guilds, they are often starting these early. I know Echo is running an early bird special where if you show up in the first couple hours of the day, then you get bonus gold. Because
we did see Roger Brown promoting that.
Yeah, their reset is 5 a.m. So obviously they wanted to start on Wednesday at 5 a.m. and then they don't want to move that back to immediately to 10 a.m. or whatever. So they're still starting those splits at like 7 or something.
I mean, splits and helpers are so interesting because I think most people who are helpers and splits, they're doing it because they want to support whoever they're going to support, and then they're like, "Yep, gold on top of that. That's not a bad deal."
Yeah,
and I wasn't going to clear the raid anyways.
Yeah, I mean it's a great deal for anybody that wants to see the raid, get some gold, get those vault slots.
Yeah,
and doesn't mind trading away the items. I will say I don't like the fact that it's part of the race. I think it's like a icky thing to be in the race to world first, and I don't like how it makes such a huge barrier for a guild to jump into the race. There are 700 barriers that separate, a world's 10th guild from a world first guild. But this is one of the ones that I think is like especially icky feeling to me. I don't know. It's hard to explain exactly why, but I don't like it.
I get what you're saying. Like the rules of the race to world first are basically kill the end boss as fast as possible. Don't cheat. That's pretty. Don't get yourself banned. That's pretty much it.
Don't get caught cheating.
Yeah, or don't get. Sorry, yeah, good calls. Don't get caught cheating.
Yeah, have whatever you do. Have Blizzard decide wasn't cheating after the fact.
Shout out Sneak.lua. Anyway, but yeah, I think that like people talk about the race world first guilds could change the rules of the race anytime they want, which is true, but kind of, the grassroots
Yeah.
nature of the race world first, and
And
just what the guilds want.
if
It's
you
like,
took out helpers, then there's be huge incentive to have 60 people on your raiding roster, and
oh
30
yeah.
of them aren't getting played. But oh man, the splits are running really smoothly, right? Like
I
there's
mean, people talk about like limiting, like guilds getting together as a collective and being like, all right, max 8 splits.
yeah, but if you run max 8 splits, then a bigger part of the race moves from who can run more splits potentially, which is not really a factor right now because everybody can run the same amount, to who gets better RNG, right? If you run 8 splits, one guild, it's much more likely that one guild is going to have better geared characters than the others.
I think I prefer the kill the boss. Those are the rules. Like,
Yeah.
boss die, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I think that I don't think that it's the guilds have to decide to stop using helpers thing. I think that it would have to be Blizzard has to change the loot rules in some way to make that happen.
The weird
and
optional.
I'm not even saying that would be a good change for the game, because anytime you're doing something like that, you have to weigh all of the implications of it. I'm just saying I personally preferred it when this wasn't a part of the race.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I will say that there maybe would have had to have this decision be made if the optional boss was a thing, but that Blizzard kind of solved that for everybody.
That it's required for the Hall of Fame achievement and to show up on the leaderboard. I think that makes it pretty easy. Is like what bosses are part of that.
Yeah, pretty much. I think Blizzard solved that. Any final thoughts? Oh, what's your prediction for 24 hours from now?
I think 24 hours from now we're going to be looking at.
Is Echo and Mythic already 24 hours from now?
Yeah, I think Echo will. Well, actually, it'll be what so we record this at 1 a.m. Pacific, so
they'll be
10 a.m. On their Saturday.
They'll have like 2 hours in their raid already.
Yeah, in their raid day. I doubt they start before lunch on their Saturday, though. Even though they have a longer first couple of days, maybe they'll have just entered Mythic. But my suspicion is they'll start just after their lunch on Saturday.
You think they're starting their Mythic 13 hours behind where Liquid will start theirs?
I think Liquid are going to start their Mythic not just after lunch, because they have they have Dimensiuses, they have Mythic Plus, and they have Tazavesh's to do, and they're starting at like 10 a.m. So I think they're entering Mythic at like 5 p.m. optimistically. Mythic on Friday, and then I think Echo can get in at like 1 p.m. Mythic on their Saturday, something like that.
That's what sucked.
Yeah, but they're almost done.
God,
and Dimensius should be fun to watch. Dimensius is a gorgeous encounter.
This race.
Yeah.
You guys are gonna want to be there whenever Mythic starts. I think this is one of the coolest looking.
Yeah, Salvador and Dimensius look great.
So. Oh my god, the bosses are sweet.
Yeah. All right. See you
Bye.
tomorrow.